So it's Wednesday, and we're going to talk TNA Impact, of course, like we do every Wednesday here on Pop Now. And before I get started, I do want to mention something that's kind of related, but not exactly, but still kind of sort of, because obviously TNA used to film at Universal. So yesterday was the official grand opening of Diagon Alley at Universal Studios Florida, and I've seen all the awesomeness that was put on Twitter and Facebook, and I cannot wait to be in attendance. It'll be 70 days. 70 days! 10 more days and I can start making Fast Pass Plus reservations. It's not that far away. It really isn't. And that means that we are very, very close to Halloween Horror Nights. Which means we're going to be getting some announcements. Now Diagon Alley is officially open. Mike Aiello, Rick Spencer, and TJ Manarino and the rest of the Universal Art and Design team are going to be freed up to be able to dive head first into Halloween Horror Nights. So we should start getting our first announcements this week. As a matter of fact, actually, there was a tweet that was sent out by both Mike Aiello and John Murdy on opposite coasts that we are going to be getting an amazing announcement for both Hollywood and Orlando this week. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a share or if it's going to be a separate IP for both properties, but due to the fact that everyone seems to already know that The Slaughtered Lamb is coming to Hollywood. It's going to be in the Jurassic Park queue at Universal Hollywood, which means An American Werewolf in London is a foregone conclusion. And with the way that the lines were so horrendous yesterday, we actually got to see the facade of one of the sprung tents, and it is definitely the Myers house. So yes, Michael Myers will be coming home, this time to Orlando. So we could get an announcement of Halloween on this coast and An American Werewolf in London on the West Coast. Or we could get an IP announcement, and I'm going to guess that's going to be the case. It's going to be the announcement of the synergy of Dracula Untold, playing up the fact that we don't know much about the movie, basically just a little bit based on a short teaser trailer that's already been released. But that's Halloween Horror Nights video. That may or may not be coming in a video format tomorrow. I haven't quite decided yet. I don't have an idea for Thursday's video yet. I don't know what's going on with AJ because right now he's sick, and hopefully he'll be better by now, by the time this video comes out, and hopefully he'll be able to do Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, a double feature on Thursday night. If not, we're going to be watching Rise of the Planet of the Apes on Friday morning. AJ's movie reviews is going to be coming out on Friday afternoon, early evening. Just depends on how long it takes to upload everything. Brand New Verse is coming out on Sunday, and Gangster Themed, and Ashley's Popcaster from Across the Pond video gaming segment coming on Saturday. Let's talk TNA! So, we start off the show with your brand new Director of Wrestling Operations for TNA Impact Wrestling, Kurt Angle, coming to the ring, dressed to the nines like he did back in the Main Event Mafia days. Angle comes out and says, we're going to celebrate TNA's freedom. Obviously, this was not filmed, but this was being shown the day before July 4th, America's Independence Day. And this is now the freedom of the tyranny from Dixie Carter. Now, that being said, this is now officially Kurt Angle's red, white, and blue throwdown. That's going to be the theme of tonight's episode. So he calls out our Hebner first, and he's going to right the wrong that Hebner got unfairly and unjustly fired by the MVP, so he reinstates him back. Excuse me. I apologize. He announces tonight's card, runs all those down. Ethan Carter III and Bully Ray in a tables match. The Wolves defending the TNA World Tag Team titles against the Menageries team of Nux and the Freak, as well as DJ Zima Ion and Jesse Goddard of the Bromans. And finally, Angelina defending the Knockouts Championship against Gail Kim, as well as the main event, Bobby Lashley having to defend the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Showtime Eric Young. This brings Samoa Joe out. Rather interesting. Joe says, oh, Kurt Angle's come out here to save us. You know what? I think that's BS. Because you're no different than any other regime previously. You covet the World Heavyweight Championship. I know you better than anyone else in this company. How long is it going to be before you book yourself in that world title match? I don't know, maybe as soon as your knee heals? And Angle basically tries to say that we're on the same page, and Joe's like, no, you're not going there. We don't walk the same path. You were bought and brought here. I had to claw my way through the independents to basically even get a chance to be on this roster. I fought my way here. And basically, you are making a statement is pretty much what Angle says to Joe, and he's like, okay, fine, but the real fact of the matter is, Joe, simply put, in all essence, he's wishy-washy. Like, you kick ass one day, and basically you half-ass the other days. And then Joe, of course, talks about his independent pedigree, saying he's been all over Pennsylvania, rebuilding the sport of professional wrestling, while Kurt Angle was obviously off in WWE. He fist fought for $40 a night at a National Guard armory up the street. That's a shoot, by the way. He says he is pro wrestling, and Kurt's like, that's it. That's the Samoa Joe I want to see. That's the fire and intensity that you need to be showing right now. Not this wishy-washy attitude about what you've been doing before. No, this is about Samoa Joe getting back to his roots. He wants that fire. He wants that determination. And Kurt, be careful what you wish for, is what Joe says, and he bombs out. So, really great opening of the show. Excuse me. It basically sets up the matches for the evening, plus it also puts a nice little angle, no pun intended, in the books for later on down the road, another Samoa Joe Kurt Angle match somewhere down the line, once Angle has been recuperated long enough for it to be able to be cleared. I think that's more than what the doctor ordered. So, Bobby Roode and MVP are jawing in the back. Of course, MVP still has a torn meniscus, and Bobby Roode doesn't care. He wants a fight, and he wants to fight him down tonight. Well, Kenny King jumps in from behind, and he beats Bobby Roode down, and MVP chokes Roode with his crutch. And he says, you're not on my level, dummy, pulling out his inner Red Fox. And Bobby Roode, when we come back, is being shoulder iced down in the trainer's room, and Angle's like, what happened? What happened? He's like, you know what? You want to fight? Well, fine. How about you come with me and we'll work this out. So we get our first match of the evening. TNA World Tag Team titles on the line. Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, the Wolves, defending against the Freak and Nux of the Menagerie, as well as Jesse Goddard and DJ Zima Ion of the Bromans. And, of course, the Menagerie has the Gorgeous Rebel and Crazy Steve at ringside with the dressed in very patriotic, like Uncle Sam stilt walkers. They basically might as well be straight out of the Alice Cooper Welcome to My Nightmare Halloween Horror Nights house from 2012, because that's what they kind of reminded me of. So we picked this match up midway through, and DJ Z with an elbow to the back of the neck and a big forearm, tagging to Jesse. Bromance cut off the ring here. Double whip, and Jesse with a nice spine buster into DJ Z, who's laying on the canvas with both of his knees propped up, so he drops him on both knees. Makes cover 1-2 and a kick out because Davey Richards makes a save for Eddie Edwards. Tagging to Zima, and the double backdrop. He lands on his feet, and a double Rana on the Bromans by Eddie Edwards. Tag into Davey Richards, clothesline on Jesse, a back elbow to Zima Ion, and 2 stiff kicks, whip in reverse into a handspring leaping kick by Davey Richards, and Zima gets caught coming in with the exploder suplex. Ducks Nux's clothesline comes in, and of course he gets drop kicked by Davey. Rebel comes in, oh sorry, wrong day. Freak comes in, and of course he gets drop kicked by Davey, and Freak charges and accidentally Cactus Jack style clotheslines his partner Nux over the top rope to the floor, thus taking the Menagerie out of this match completely. Davey charges in, and Jesse hits the back elbow, and Eddie Edwards comes in. Jesse charges, and basically the Wolves make him eat the pop-up kick. 1, 2, 3. And the Wolves retain the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Really good fast-paced match. And, you know, Freak and Nux were not in the match as much as they could have been. So it worked really well because I really never liked Jesse Goddard. Never been a big fan of him in the ring at all. But he's growing on me. Slowly but surely he's growing on me, and I like the team with Zima Ion, not just because I'm a Zima Ion guy, obviously because he's a personal friend of mine, But the thing about it is I like the team of the Bromans, and when Robbie E returns, we're going to have some fun with the Bromans, and I believe that happens in New York, but I can't talk about that yet because that hasn't happened on television. Good match to start off the show, nice fast-paced match, and no problems whatsoever. So, of course, after this, Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle are talking to MVP and Kenny King. MVP is booked tonight against Bobby Roode, and MVP pulls the card. You know what? I can't wrestle. Torn meniscus. I have a doctor's note. If you want to see it, Kurt, no problem. So I can't fight in this match. So Angle's like, fine, you know what? I'm going to utilize another thing, too. I'm going to use my power to make a street fight between you, Bobby Roode, and you, Kenny King, because obviously they started to get into it before that happened. So Bobby Roode thanks Kurt Angle when he comes out to the ring for him returning to TNA, obviously. He calls out Kenny King, and he comes out with MVPs and street clothes, and Kenny King says, do you want the king of the fight? He's the king of the night, but he calls himself the king of the fight this time. How about we go out and let's go break Bobby Roode's neck this time? Angle comes out, and he sends MVP to the back, so it's an even playing field. Bobby Roode against Kenny King in a street fight. We pick it up midway through. They're brawling in the crowd. Taz with a really nice name drop for old school wrestling fans, bringing up the former FTW rules of ECW back when Taz was the FTW champion. And if you don't know what FTW stands for, obviously I'm not going to tell you in this video, but it's a very infamous Insane Clown Posse song if you were curious. Excuse me. I believe other bands have covered it as well. So Kenny charges in while Roode is kind of slumped over against the barricade. Kenny charges in and Roode lifts him up, backdrops him over the barricade into the ringside area. And Bobby Roode gets a chair, and Kenny King with a version of the Van Daminator sends the chair into the face of Bobby Roode, tosses him in, makes a cover 1-2 and a kick out because the bell sounds right there. So anything that happened before that was not part of this match. The bell finally sounded after the Van Daminator and the toss-in, 1-2, and a kick-out. King comes in, and now he's wearing just socks. His shoes have been knocked off at some point in this. Hits a snap suplex on Bobby Roode, the mounted punches, makes a cover, 1-2, and a kick-out. King grabs the chair and lays it in the ring, and the Vader-style cross faces across the middle rope while he has him choking him on the middle rope. He goes for the Royal Flush. It gets countered into the Roode Bomb, Spicoli Driver on the chair, and 1-2-3, Bobby Roode wins this. Enjoyable street fight between these two. Wasn't long, but wasn't short either, kind of in the middle, and worked really well to show Bobby Roode's return dominance against Kenny King, who has been the scapegoat in all these beatings. When it comes down to it, the group of MLK as a whole, Kenny King is the one person that takes the whippings. It basically takes the beatings from his opponents, and I guess he's probably eventually going to realize that he's nothing but a literal whipping boy in this case, and he's going to have to lash back out, pun not intended, against Bobby Lashley and MVP, but I don't think that's going to happen for quite a while. This MLK stable is going to stay together for quite a while. So EC3 is in the back. He says, how much time must I thwart Bully Ray? He will never, ever put me or my Aunt D through a table. And why do I know this? Because I'm the hardcore American icon. And we have that nice promo. So Bobby Roode comes out to take out MLK and to become the champion again. That's his goal. His goal to return to TNA is become World Heavyweight Champion again. Austin Aries shows up, and he's here to talk to Kurt Angle, and he puts over his greatness. But he says that one thing MVP never, ever followed through on that he was promised was a rematch against Saya Sonata for the X Division Championship. So, obviously, Aries wants to utilize Option C, because he is the creator of said Option C, and beat Sonata, give up the X Division Championship, and January 31st at Destination X, he will get the World Heavyweight Championship back, at least in his mind. So Angle's like, fine, I never doubted your greatness, I never doubted anything about it, but you know what, I think you and I need to have a match to determine who's the best, the better man, the best better man in this case. So maybe Angle and Aries one more time. I got no issues with that. So it's officially announced for the Impact episode to air tomorrow night. It's going to be Sonata against Aries rematch for the TNA X Division Championship. I'm all into this. So here comes Brittany, and this is the first time I've seen the former Santana Garrett in TNA, and she looks just as gorgeous as she always did. I remember watching Santana in the background during the Last Call with Scott Hall YouTube shows and the Scott Hall TV YouTube shows. I really enjoyed that stuff, and that's how I got to know Brittany before she entered TNA, and I was very happy to hear she signed with TNA. There's a couple female superstars that I'd like to see sign with TNA. My good friend Sassy Steffi needs to be one of them. I definitely think she needs to sign with TNA, and I think that definitely should happen sooner rather than later. And a lot of really great Canadian indie workers need to sign with TNA as well. But that's just me. So Brittany comes out, and she calls out Madison Rayne. Madison comes to the ring, and basically, this has gone way too far. It's what she says. She like, stops her dead in her tracks. This has gone way too far. What's happened has happened. You know what? I'm going to put an end to it. So why don't we just ring the bell right now, get a referee, and we'll fight this out. And Brittany's like, no, it's not this. I just want to let you know that you were right. I was wrong. And Madison, of course, is kind of like, what? What's going on? He's like, you know, the Knockouts division can be quite difficult to navigate its way through. You tried to warn me. I was the new girl on the block. And Madison just basically says, I don't want you making the same mistakes that I did. And, of course, the hero worship comes to mind yet again on another wrestling show, and the line goes, I just wanted to be like you. Madison, I'm so sorry for this. I learned a lesson from all of this. And Madison's like, you know what? If you learned your lesson, I understand. And how about basically they shake hands, and it's like, I'll be there for you from this moment on. So they shake hands, and they hug, and then they shake hands again. And basically, she says, you know, the lesson I've learned from all of this is never meet your heroes. And she nails a vicious short arm clothesline on Madison Rayne because they only disappoint. So she tosses her shoulder first into the ring post and hits a reverse DDT on the floor. And then very sexily and seductively, I'm being honest, I'm sorry, I'm a guy, she, like, saunters under the bottom rope and she basically just, like, watches the prone body of Madison Rayne lay on the ground in her handiwork of what she just did in the aftermath, and she says, we're not friends anymore. So we're pushing towards Brittany and Madison Rayne to do a singles match somewhere down the line. Apparently, from reading, not spoilers, but reading the matches lined up for tomorrow night's Impact in New York, it's going to be a tag match, actually. Excuse me. It's Gail and Brittany against Angelina Love and Madison Rayne. No, that's not right. That can't be right. There's no way that's right. Angelina Love and Brittany versus Gail and Madison Rayne. That's what we got. So the former beautiful people going up against each other. So that's going to be interesting to see how we get from that. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a fun time. I'm very much looking forward to what's going to happen with this match. And this tag match coming up tomorrow. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm reading it right now. I don't know if it's a 4-way or a tag match. Let me look at that. Yeah, it is a 4-way. It is Brittany, Angelina Love, Gail Kim, and Madison Rayne. It is a fatal 4-way to determine the Knockouts champion. And of course, Gail Kim is the one defending the championship. Oops, gave it away because that's coming up later on. So, basically, this goes on to not very much longer. Bully Ray says over my dead body and cuts a good old-school style ECW promo. He says, EC3, you have to be tough to be lucky. Or if you watch the Jackass movies, you would know you gotta be dumb if you're gonna be tough. Ask Roger Allen Wade. You proved it at Slammiversary. You never would have walked out alive if it wasn't for Rockstar Spud and your Aunt Dixie. I guaranteed the entire wrestling world that I would put Dixie Carter through a table. And as God is my witness, I will make that happen. But tonight, EC3, you go first. So we get just that next. Tag team. I'm looking at the Twitter of that tag match just talked about. Tables match, Bully Ray against Ethan Carter III. We pick it up midway through the match, and Carter with a leaping clothesline and slams Bully's face into the mat several times. He grabs the chain, and he goes for a punch with a wraparound chain, and of course, it gets blocked twice because Bully does a vicious overhand chop both times. EC3 clotheslines Bully with the chain and goes for a 10 punch. He gets caught, and he's going for the sit-out powerbomb through the table. Rockstar Spud from behind with a low blow, dressed in his Phil Collins Easy Lover gear, wearing the Valentine-style hearts all over his body. 2-on-1 on Bully Ray, and the double foot choke, and we hear a very familiar sound come from the speakers, and the yelling of "Gore! Gore!" And could it be? Yes, it is. Rhino returns, and Rhino comes to the ring. EC3 powders, and he charges towards Spud, but he puts on the brakes, and you should have knew something was going on there. He turns attention to Bully Ray, and he gores him into oblivion, to the horrendous boos from the crowd. So EC3 gets up and choke slams Bully Ray through the table, thus ending the match. Rhino celebrates with EC3 and Rockstar Spud, and that's the end of the match. Good match between these two. I don't mind the chemistry between EC3 and Bully Ray. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen once we get our singles match between Bully Ray and Rhino, because obviously that's something that did not get to happen in the original ECW. If it did, it was a one-off. I think this actually might... I don't remember it happening, though. I don't remember Bully Ray and Rhino ever squaring off. Not in a singles match. I think when Rhino was the King High World Beater, ECW World Heavyweight Champion, Bully Ray was in WWE, obviously, doing the Dudley Boys shtick with Devon. So, yeah, they were in the company at the same time. Obviously, the Dudley Boys were in the company when Rhino entered as Steve Corino's bodyguard, in essence. But they never squared off. So Bully Ray and Rhino is a match I really want to see, to be honest. It'd be a really good, very violent, hard-hitting match. Bobby Roode is talking to Eric Young. He says tonight is the night, and Eric Young is a little apprehensive because obviously he's 0-3 against Bobby Lashley, so he doesn't really think that he can do this. But Bobby Roode pretty much psychs him up and says, you know what, the facts say on paper you can't win, you don't stand a chance, but you know what? No one thought you'd be champion, and Lashley is big in every single way except one thing, right here, his heart. And of course, that's what Eric Young has. All you gotta have is heart, right? I'm gonna prove all the naysayers wrong tonight. And Bobby Roode's got Eric Young's back. Rhino's in the back with EC3 and Rockstar Spud. He says, you know what? No one owes me anything, and I don't owe anyone else anything either. When it comes down to it, I do what I want. Bully, you should know that better than anyone. So we get a vignette of Samuel Shaw in his white padded cell at the asylum. And we go to Gunner as the one who is basically taking care of him, watching over him, make sure he doesn't relapse again. So Gunner got him out. He's back in the locker room for the first time. He says it feels weird to be back. And he says, you know what, it's kind of like AA. He needs to apologize for all his indiscretions in the past, and he needs to apologize to you-know-who. So obviously, he's walking towards the locker room, presumably to talk to Christy Hemme, and here comes Mr. Anders like, are you freaking kidding me? And he's like, no, what, Ken, just give him a chance. And he's like, you know what, you're a creepy bastard. And he's like, you know what, Ken, give him a chance. He's rejuvenated himself. He's completely reformed now. Gunner just wants another opportunity, another chance for Samuel. And he's like, you know what, if you're changed, if you're really changed, then you know what, you need to talk to a friend of mine. So he walks in, and of course there's Christy Hemme standing there, and she's like, what is he doing here? And he's like, you know what, trust me, trust Gunner. And Samuel says, you know what, I've done some really bad things, a lot of things I truly regret, but I went to an institution, I got better, and now I'm back, and I really want to say that before I can move on from all of this, I just want to apologize from the bottom of my heart, and then I'm really sorry, Christy. I'm really sorry for all of this. And he just bombs out. So, interesting to see where we go with this. Samuel Shaw with Gunner as his mentor. I think that's going to work pretty well. The beautiful people are buttering up Steve Stifler in the locker room, and of course, they're trying to solidify the fact that Stifler's got Gail and Angelina Love's Knockouts title match later tonight. And of course, they butter Stifler up and they kind of flirt with him and they kind of harass him in ways too. But I want to be harassed by Velvet Sky and Angelina Love. Every red-blooded American male would love that. So, yeah, when it comes down to it, I'd like to be Stifler. But the thing, that's not the women I want in TNA, though. But that's another story altogether. So when it comes down to it, Stifler bombs out, and basically Velvet and Angelina are like, you know what, we got him where we want him, and we've got this in the bag. thank you, Stiffy. And yeah, a lot of double entendres in that here. It says, you deserve to be the head ref, stuff like that. So, Stifler agrees to the match before he bombs out, and Angle sees this, and of course, like, I'm putting a stop to this. It's like, you know what, there's far too much behind this match, and you know what, your head's not in the right space, so you're going to be taken out of this match. You're not reffing this match. You're made to look all completely Bush League right now, so you know what, Brian Hebner, you're going to take this match instead. So the Menagerie are in the locker room, and they still need money, because whomever is behind their carnival needs their money, obviously. This guy really wants his money. I'm wondering when we're going to see this guy. I think it'd be hilarious if the leader of the Menagerie was Doc, but yeah, that probably won't happen. Considering the fact of the Bullet Club, that's not going to happen. It'd be kind of cool if it did. So, Crazy Steve honks his little clown horn, and that's basically how Nux knows that he understands what he's saying. And Nux and Rebel walk away hand in hand. Nux says, you know what, we've got a lot of work to do. And Rebel agrees. And by the way, congratulations to Rebel for winning the competition to become the next TNA Knockout that's going to have her own banner, actually. They had a nice little competition online for the fans to vote on recently to determine who was going to have the next Knockouts banner, and Rebel won. So yeah, congratulations to Rebel for winning that. I really like the Menagerie, and I hope they do some more with them. I like Crazy Steve, obviously. I love him from the Canadian Independence, so yeah, there's always that. I didn't really like Rob Terry, but I like him under a mask because it actually works pretty well, and I like how he no-sells things. That kind of works for the gimmick. Nux is actually more interesting than he's ever been, and Rebel is really nice to look at, so yeah, that's what we got for that. Maybe another member of the Menagerie somewhere down the line. So, we get our next match. It is your semi-main event. It is Knockouts Championship on the line. Angelina Love defending against Gail Kim. This match, obviously, there's kind of a problem because Velvet's at ringside, and one of the first things she does, she hits a neck snap on Gail, and Hebner tosses Velvet out. So when everyone's cleared from the ringside area, we've got a one-on-one match for the Knockouts Championship with Angelina Love and Gail Kim. So Gail with a small package 1-2 and a kick out and a big forearm, whip in, duck, and drops her head, of course. She gets kicked in the chest by Gail, comes off the ropes, and a shoulder block, and a back elbow, and a clothesline to Angelina, and a forearm where she gets back to her feet, whip in, charges in with a crossbody in the corner, and she goes up top, missile drop kick 1-2, and a kick out. So Angelina stops any momentum that Gail Kim has with a jawbreaker, and a boot in is caught, and a back heel trip sends Gail down on the canvas. She goes up top, does Gail, and a Botox injection knocks Gail off the top rope to the floor. Gail gets tossed back in the ring because Angelina wants to pin Gail in the center of the ring, and she does just that 1-2, and Gail kicks out. So she charges in for the Botox injection, she gets stopped, and a big forearm whip in and countered into a short arm, into Eat Defeat from Gail Kim, 1-2-3, and once again, Gail Kim is your Knockouts champion, and she will be defending against Angelina Love, Madison Rayne, and Brittany in a Fatal 4-Way tomorrow on the Impact taping. So yeah, looking forward to that. It should be pretty fun. So, speaking of that, Kurt Angle was asked about his first night in charge. He said it's a good first night. He said it's a busy good first night is basically what he says in his own words. See, next week, as in tomorrow, all the titles will be up for grabs. The TNA World Heavyweight Championship is the only one that will not, because there's going to be a 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal to determine who the next challenger for Lashley's TNA World Heavyweight Championship will be. So, we have, excuse me, that is coming down. We have the 20-man Battle Royal. We have the Fatal 4-Way for the Knockouts Championship. We have the rematch with Sonata defending the X Division Championship against Austin Aries. And we also have the Wolves defending the TNA World Tag Team Championships against Bram and Magnus, who got a really great victory in a Monsters Ball match last week against Willow and Abyss. So that's coming, and so much more is coming on top of that I can't even mention yet, because obviously I don't want to delve into spoilers on this video. But is Lashley going to retain the championship? We'll find out in this main event, which is up next. It is Showtime Eric Young taking on Lashley. Of course, Lashley has MVP in his corner, and Bobby Roode is in the corner of his former Team Canada brethren, Eric Young. So, of course, MVP trips up Eric Young. So in turn, Bobby Roode trips up Lashley. So Hebner sees this, and he's like, you know what? Forget you guys. You're both out. Once again, straight one-on-one match between the two. So we pick it up midway through, 2 forearms, comes off the ropes, and a back kick by Lashley, leg sweep into a version of a heel hook or a half crab. He didn't turn it to a half crab, it was kind of a heel hook, and a DDT to the leg, 1-2, and a kick out by EY. Tosses him into the corner, and he charges in. Young gets the boot up, and he goes to the middle rope missile drop kick. It connects, but Eric Young has had his ankle tweaked midway through the match before I even started recapping, so obviously he cannot capitalize at this point. He goes up top, Lashley stops him, climbs up going for a superplex, and they trade blows on the top rope, teetering and tottering vicariously on top of the... precariously, not vicariously. Precariously on the top rope, and of course it is stopped with EY biting Bobby Lashley and knocking him off with a right hand. He hits the big elbow, the elbow connects, and Showtime only gets a 2.5 off of that because Lashley kicks out. He goes for the pile driver, but he can't do anything because basically he can't lift the big man, and a Dominator by Lashley, who finishes Eric Young off with the spear, 1, 2, 3, and Lashley retains the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Really enjoyable show. I really dig TNA in so many ways. I really like it when they put more emphasis on in-ring wrestling. I do notice that they do have a lot of storyline, more so than WWE most of the time. But still, I really like this show. I would say, if I had to recommend things on this show, the opening tag match between the Wolves, the Menagerie, and the Bromans, I'd recommend that. Bobby Roode and Kenny King was very short, but it was effective. I'd recommend that. I'd actually recommend the tables match between EC3 and Bully Ray. And you know what? I would recommend Gail Kim and Angelina Love. And actually, on top of it, I'd recommend EY and Lashley. Yeah, all the matches were good. They all worked. And now only great things happen from here because we're on the road to one of the best things that's ever happened to TNA from a fan's perspective, happening at the last night out of the Hammerstein Ballroom for something that I can't even talk about right now, but it did happen, and I can't wait for it. So, what's going to happen when ECW invades the Hammerstein one more time? So, yes, I'm really excited for this, and I really see how it's going to work itself out. I do somewhat know what's going to happen, but I can't talk about it on here, so I will talk about it when I can. But we got a lot of stuff to come. Those matches are announced. A lot more, of course, still to come. And like I said, ECW, who knows what's going to happen when Tommy Dreamer shows back up. Will he? Will he not? What's going to happen with Dixie Carter? And will Bully Ray put Dixie through that table after all? You gotta wait till the end of the month to find that out, folks. But stay tuned to TNA because it's just getting more entertaining from here. So, wrestling fans, you can join me yet again on Monday for Raw, Monday for NXT and SmackDown, Tuesday for Raw, and Wednesday back for Impact. And of course, if you're a regular Pop viewer, Halloween Horror Nights news very much possibly coming tomorrow. I can't say that for sure, but it should happen. And of course, AJ's movie reviews on Friday, Ashley's Popcaster from Across the Pond video game segment on Saturday, Brandy Versus on Sunday, and then we roll back into our regular schedule. So, in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, help spread the word about Pop. If you haven't yet liked our Facebook fan page, go ahead and do click that like and like our Facebook fan page. It is Sir Owen Disney Pop on Facebook. If you want a friend request me, go right ahead. It's Owen Disney on Facebook. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at Sir Owen Disney. Last but certainly not least, you want to send your thoughts, comments, queries, and opinions. You want to talk TNA, you want to talk WWE, you want to talk wrestling of any kind, like old school wrestling. We can talk about old school wrestling. You want to ask me questions. You want to talk Disney, Universal, Halloween Horror Nights, Diagon Alley. You want to talk any of that with me, or you want to become a Popcaster yourself, and you want to send your video contributions to this channel to become a Popcaster. Or if you'd like to have an idea for verses or something you'd like to see on this channel, send me that email, sirowendisney@gmail.com. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.